Hello everyone, I am Ms. Manjusha Bhosle from Deccan Education Society School Science. We would be starting with the first lesson, Working of the Constitution. So students, till now from political science we have studied about the local governments, the values and philosophy of the Indian Constitution as well as the governing structure created by the Constitution and India's place in international relations. Now we move on towards the PPT. We would be starting with the objectives of the Indian Constitution to establish a secular democratic republic. To establish a secular democratic republic, secular means where government is treating all religions equal. Democratic means all citizens having equal rights. It also means government of the people, by the people and for the people. Republic means a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives and which has an elected or nominated president rather than a monarch. To next point, to ensure that the citizens get justice and freedom. The Constitution of India bestowed some fundamental rights to the citizens of India like right to equality, right to freedom, right to religion, etc. And it has also taken the privilege to see that the citizens get justice and also these fundamental rights along with their freedom gets protected. We move on to the second. Constitution came into force, that is 26 January 1950. We started following the Constitution from 26 January 1950, and since then the government has been working in accordance with the principles of the Constitution. In this chapter, we will take a brief overview of the wide-ranging nature of Indian democracy, important changes that have taken place in its political process, and steps that have been taken to establish social justice and equality. This review will primarily focus on three aspects of Indian democracy that you can see on the slide. Three aspects of Indian democracy. One is democracy, second social justice, and the third is judicial system. So first we start with democracy. Under democracy, the first subpoint is political maturity. About political maturity, what does it say? It states that democracy does not merely suggest a representative structure. The significant feature of representative system is to get hold the principles of democracy in actual practice, and once this is done, democracy becomes the necessary part of the political life of the society. Next, we will be seeing the indicators of India's successful democracy. We will be covering the first point, direct representation in the parliament, state legislature and local government. So what is it? The Indian people have direct representation in the parliament, state legislature and local government. Direct representation is a form of representative democracy where voters can vote for any candidate in the land and each representative's vote is weighted in proportion to the number of citizens who have chosen that candidate to represent them. Holding free and fair elections at regular intervals means voters are assured a well-managed day of polling without any fear. Increasing participation of the people in the political process and competition also strengthens democracy. Next, right to vote. Under right to vote, we will be covering all the points like restricted the right to vote, guaranteed adult suffrage, voting age was reduced from 21 to 18, largest democracy in the world, and change is not only quantitative but also qualitative. So here we start. The Indian Constitution had made the provision of right to vote for adults after the post-independence period. India voted for the first time after independence in 1951. But during the time of the Britishers, the scenario was completely different. Only a limited number of persons were granted the right to vote, whereas several provisions existed for common people which restricted the right to vote. After 15th August 1947, all such provisions were cancelled and the Indian Constitution granted adult suffrage, means giving the right to vote equally to both men and women above the age of 21 years. The voting age was later reduced from 21 to 18, which gave opportunity of political participation to the young generation in India. Such provisions have made India the largest democracy in the world. This change is not only quantitative but also qualitative. Why? Because new political parties are emerging with the active support of young voters. Decentralization of democracy. Under decentralization of democracy, the points controls misuse of power and also creates opportunities. Directive principle of state policy, 73rd and 74th Amendment to Indian Constitution. So what all these points are related, we'll be seeing here. Democratic decentralization is the process of devolving the functions and resources of the state from the center to the elected representatives at the lower levels so as to facilitate greater direct participation of citizens in governance, and also it gives an opportunity to control misuse of power. The directive principle of state policy include the provisions for democratic decentralization. The 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments by constitutionally establishing Panchayati Raj institutions in India mandated the establishment of panchayats and municipalities as elected local governments. They devolved a range of powers and responsibilities to the local governments and made them accountable to the people for their implementation according to the Constitution. Next, right to information. First, I would like to give a brief introduction about right to information. Right to information is an act of the Parliament of India which sets out the rules and procedures regarding citizens' right to information. This law was passed by the Parliament on 15th June 2005 and came fully into force on 12th October 2005. The points that we will be covering under this point is citizens' empowerment, strengthening democracy and building relationship of trust, ensures transparency and accountability in governance, reduces the element of secrecy in working of the government, approach towards democratic reforms changed after 2000. Citizens' empowerment, that is a right, is the essential condition of democracy. Increased communication between citizens and governments helps in making democracy strong and in building a relationship of trust between them. So, it is necessary to create opportunities for citizens' participation and interaction with the government. Next, it means citizens have a right to know about the functioning of the government. The basic objective of the Right to Information Act is to empower the citizens, promote transparency and accountability in the working of the public authorities, and make our democracy work for the people in real sense. Next, because of this objective, that is the right to information, corruption as well as the element of secrecy has been reduced in the government offices, and it has become more transparent in its working. For example, in government jobs, the tenders which have been laid forward by the government, etc. Next, approach towards democratic reforms change. After 2000, democratic reforms are considered as rights of citizens, and accordingly, citizens in India have got right to information. Education. Example I would like to give related to education. Government has made free and compulsory education to all children of India in the age group from 6 to 14. No child shall be held back, expelled, or required to pass a board examination until and unless the completion of elementary education. And food, if we take midday meal scheme started by the government in every government aided primary school. Next, social justice and equality, the points. Objective of our constitution, equality of dignity, aim to end discrimination in social status. Democracy helps in reducing social conflicts. So, social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. Social workers aim to open the doors of access and opportunity for everyone, particularly those in greatest need, and deserves the equality of dignity. Social justice and equality are the important objectives of our Constitution. The Constitution has given the guidelines to establish a new society based on these two values, that is, equality and justice. To establish social justice is to remove those social conditions which are responsible for injustice and insist on the equality of dignity for all individuals. First, the principles of justice and equality aim at ending discrimination in social status such as superior or inferior on the basis of caste, religion, language, and gender, place of birth, race, property, equality of opportunity for development to every individual. Next, to establish justice and equality, efforts are to be made at all levels of society. But the government efforts and policies on their front are more important. For democracy to be inclusive, one must try to bring all sections of the society into the mainstream. Democracy is in fact a process of accommodating different sections in society, and it also helps in reducing social conflicts. Next, we come towards the policy of reservation of seats. Policy of reservation of seats is meant for those sections of society who have been deprived of the opportunities for education and employment for a long period of time. Accordingly, in educational institutions and in government services, some seats are kept reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. There is also a provision of reservation of seats for other backward classes. The reservation process came into existence because in the early period, that is, in the 18th, 19th century, these people were not respected in the society. They were deprived from all kinds of rights. For example, education, job, moving around in the society, entering the temples, and many other things like this. They were asked to do the downtrodden jobs also. So, William Hunter and Jyotirao Phule in 1882 originally conceived the idea of caste-based reservation system. The reservation system that exists today in its true sense was introduced in 1933 when British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald presented the Communal Award. India's current reservation status, according to the central government, overall it's 22.5%. The available seats are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And then the bifurcation is being done from 22.5, 7.5% for scheduled tribes and 15% for scheduled caste. This reservation percentage has been raised to 49.5% by including an additional 27% reservation for open backward classes. The next point under this Prevention of Atrocities Act, this act is enacted by the Parliament of India in 1989 to prevent atrocities against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. The rules for the act were notified on 31st March 1995. The main reason for implementing this act is establishing social justice and equality. This act protects any injustice against the people belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and any act of atrocity committed against them is liable for punishment. Next, provisions for minorities. Under provisions for minorities, we will be covering all the 3 points that are on your slide. So, Article 30 is a minority. Specific provisions that protects the right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. It provides that all minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. Article 14, 15, 28, 29 and 30 of the Constitution have protected the interest of the minority communities in India. These articles also protect their rights to equality, freedom, right against exploitation, cultural and educational rights. Next, laws relating to women and provisions for representation. The points that we will be covering under this is efforts to eradicate illiteracy among women, Domestic Violence Prohibition Act, reservation of seats for women in local self-governing institutions, establishment of National Commission for Women, Act for the Protection of Women, rejected traditional forms of domination and authoritarianism. So, here we start with it. After independence, efforts were made for empowering women. Taking into consideration the problems of women, several policies have been adopted at national and international level to remove illiteracy among women and to make available opportunities for their development. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, instituted in 2005, is a legislation aimed at protecting women from violence in domestic relationships. In India, from the very beginning, women have inadequate representation in politics and political institutions. From this perspective, the 73rd and the 74th Amendment reserve 33% of seats for women in local self-governing institutions. This percentage has been raised to 50% in several states, including Maharashtra. The National Commission for Women is the statutory body of the government of India. generally concerned with advising the government on all policy matters affecting women. The Act for the Protection of Women against Domestic Violence is an important step in the direction of democracy. This act underlined the need to protect the dignity and self-esteem of women. This act rejected traditional forms of domination and authoritarianism and also expanded the scope of Indian democracy. Next point we come towards is the role of judiciary. Under the role of judiciary, we are going to cover these points, that is strengthening of Indian democracy, what are the fundamental objectives of the Constitution, the basic framework of the Constitution, and significant judicial decisions. So, the judiciary in India has played an important role in strengthening democracy and achieving objectives of social justice and equality. Next point about fundamental objective of the Constitution. While interpreting the provisions of the Constitution, the judiciary has always taken into consideration the fundamental objectives like inalienable rights of citizens, independence of judiciary, free and fair elections, freedom of press, etc., has also been taken into consideration by the judiciary. The next point, the basic framework of the Constitution. The judiciary has also focused on the basic framework of the Constitution. The Constitution is dynamic. It is a living document. The Constitution has to change according to changing conditions, and the Parliament has a power to make those changes. Only the Parliament has the power, students understand, to make those changes. The judiciary has accepted this power of the Parliament to make changes in the Constitution, but at the same time, it has also specified the limitations on this power. So there are certain limitations that have been prescribed, making some changes in the Constitution by the judiciary. So the judiciary has taken a stand that the Parliament, while amending the Constitution, cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. Very important. It cannot alter means it cannot move the basic structure of the Constitution. The protection provided to the citizens by fundamental rights in the Constitution has made more meaningful through various decisions of judiciary. Next, significant judicial decision. Important subjects on which the government has given judgments include rights of children, protection of human rights, protection of the honor and dignity of women, individual freedom, and tribal empowerment. These efforts have made the political process in India more mature. Students, we come towards the next slide. In this slide, it's been given in your textbook a box, and from those box you might get any question related to web diagram, so you need to go through those boxes very thoroughly. So the first box that is here, provisions for the basic structure of the Constitution. The points under that, republican and democratic form of government, federal structure of the Constitution. Next, promotion of unity and integrity of the nation, sovereignty of the nation, and the last, secularism and supremacy of the Constitution. So once again, I repeat, go through these boxes very thoroughly. The next box is related to the features of good governance. Here you can see the web diagram you might get in this form. So you need to go through these features also, which is very important. The first feature of good governance is accountable, responsible government. Second, effective and efficient government. Third, responsive government. Fourth, transparency in working of the government. Next, just and all, inclusive development. And the next, people's participation in the governing and decision making process. So students, now we come towards the conclusion of the lesson. In this lesson, we have taken a review of the Constitution, the working of the government on the basis of the Constitution in the context of Indian democracy. The Indian democracy faced many challenges. Government acts and policies have not put an end to all these problems. But what is more important is that the people of India have developed a democratic mindset. So now we have completed the lesson, and in the next lesson we will study about the election process in India. Thank you.